live, and you are looking live at Sold Out MetLife Stadium, where today the 16-0 and playoff bound New York Giants are taking on the 0-16 Washington Commanders. And why the Washington Commanders 0-16? Because they suck. Welcome to the Gridiron. Anybody out there at all going to spend any time with me here this evening? I greatly appreciate it. Or if anybody's going to spend any time at all watching the replay of this, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, it means the world to me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to try to go about 30 minutes here tonight, as I always try to do. Shoot my mouth off for about 30 minutes. Anybody got anything to say, please feel free. Fire away. Throw it in the chat box. I usually check on the chat box like every 5 or 10 minutes or so. So if I see any comments at all or anything, I try to respond to it as fast as I can. So please feel free. Fire away. All right. Plus, it's nice to talk to somebody sometimes. Yeah. Before we get started, anybody wants to help support my channel, it would mean the absolute world to me. In the description box below, there's a top link. Okay, it takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. The top one's called the Saquon, the second one's called the Lawrence Taylor, and the third one is called the Gridiron. Each one's got their own little perks to them. There's loyalty badges. There's 8 different loyalty badges. Each one is a different Giants helmet. Now, the older the Giants helmet is, the older the design is and all and everything, the longer you've been a supporter of my channel. If you get the leather helmet associated with your name, right, that means you've been a supporter of my channel for a long time, long time. Right? Also, there's emojis. Right now, there's 4. Eventually, there will be a 5th one that comes out, but right now, there's 4. I had these things made up on Fiverr. I get a kick out of them every time I look at them. They're funny as hell. You can use them, in the chat box, or if you make a comment or something like that. But there's 4 of them, right? 4 emojis. Eventually, there'll be a 5th one. But anybody wants to help support my channel, it would mean the absolute world to me. And if you subscribe to my channel or not subscribe to my channel, if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. If you're not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell icon. That way, next time I go live or I put a video out or whatever, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? Right now, I just went over the 6,300 subscriber mark. What the hell I started the day off at here? Let's see. 6,276 at 20. So I've gone up 29 subscribers so far today. So I'm right on pace for like 30, 35 subscribers. Ever since the season's ended, I've been getting, at least about, on average, at least about 30 subscribers every day. It's really been absolutely phenomenal. A few weeks ago, it was beginning of February, toward the beginning of February, I just eclipsed the 5,000 subscriber mark. It was unbelievable. I never thought wildest dreams I'd actually had 5,000 subscribers on this channel. Right now, I'm just gone over 6,300, which is freaking absolutely phenomenal. So if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. And as I said, if you're not, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. That way, next time I go live or put a video out or whatever, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge, right? And then finally, in the description box below, there's another 2 links. The top one takes you to my Facebook group. Right now, it's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. My YouTube channel, the Facebook group, and the Facebook page is all the New York Giants, the Gridiron. That way, a moron like me, I can't get it mixed up. I can't forget it, right? Right now, we have over 2,500 members in the New York Giants, the Gridiron, the group. I put at least 10 things in here every day, whether it's a video, a post, a picture, anything, something showing some stats, something picking on the Eagles, something picking on the Cowboys. I got a few in here picking on the Cowboys. We got a picture of Jeremy Shockey. There's another post in here of Randy Dean, who was a quarterback for the Giants from 77 to 79. There's another video in here of Tom Brady talking about, it's actually Tom Brady and Joe Montana, teams that they hate, which is the Giants. There's a picture of the whole grain Wheaties box showing the Giants, the champions. They're on the front of the Wheaties box. So all kinds of stuff going in the group every day. Now, also, if you do become a member, not only do I post stuff in there, but the members post stuff in there as well, too. So there's a ton of New York Giants information going into the New York Giants, the Gridiron, the group, every day. And then if there's the second Facebook link, okay? It takes you to a page. It's called New York Giants, the Gridiron, but it's a page. Right now we have, there are 669 people who like it. There's over 3,200 people following it. Now, this one, it's the same thing. I'm the administrator, so I'm the only one to post anything in here, but it's the same thing. I put at least 10 different items in here every day. It's just 7 days a week, every day. I put stuff in there. I spent like an hour at least on the page and at least an hour in the group every day posting stuff. And I don't commingle them. So basically what it is, whatever I put in the group does not go on the page and vice versa. So between the group and the page, there's a ton of New York Giants information every day going in both of them. And I said, so if you go to the page and you like and you follow and you go to the group and become a member, between the two, you get a ton of New York Giants information every day. As I said, if you're not totally satisfied, you get your money back guaranteed. So what do you got to lose, right? All right, so all that said and done and all that stuff and everything out of the way with. Now, the Giants, they lost another coach. It's not the end of the world. I mean, obviously you hate to lose, anybody. The Colts, they seem to be Shane Steichen. He was he came over from the Eagles and he's now the Colts head coach. Now he seems to be he took our DeAndre Smith, our former running back coach, to the Colts. Now I'm not exactly sure if he's going to be their running back coach or usually it's a bit odd for him to make like a lateral move. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe, it's going to be a step up for DeAndre Smith. I'm not exactly sure what it would be. I don't know if he has a designation yet, what he is with the Colts. But Tony Sparano Jr., okay, he's joining Shane Steichen's staff at Indy. Now, it looks like he's going to be the offensive line coach. So he's gone from the offensive line assistant to the offensive line coach. I just find it kind of funny, because it's like, I'm not sure why Steichen's coming and grabbing all the Giants coaches. If the Eagles had all these great coaches and everything, why isn't he taking some of their coaches? Just find that a bit odd. Why is he coming and taking the Giants coaches? Guess maybe he thinks all the Eagles coaches stink, huh? Yeah, could be. Quite possible. So Sparano's going from the assistant offensive line coach, and it looks like he's going to become the offensive line coach with the Colts. So but we'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Sparano Jr., who was the son of the former NFL coach Tony Sparano, who passed away sadly. Let's see. He had been with Jacksonville from 2017 to 2020. He was with Buffalo Bills from 2015 to 2016. He was with the Jets from 2012 to 2014 and with the Miami Dolphins 2011. Now, during his time in Miami, Sparano Jr. served as the offensive quality control coach under Daboll, okay, who was the offensive coordinator at the time. Okay. So the Giants wind up losing another coach, but it's just running back coach, the assistant offensive line coach. So it's not. Thankfully, we didn't wind up losing, like Wink, right, or Kafka, right. The two big ones are back. So there's almost probably won't ever be a year that goes by where teams don't lose a coach. It's just the nature of the beast. Okay. And in one respect, it's kind of nice to see in one respect because if your team's coaches were that pathetic, if they showed no promise or anything, other teams wouldn't be taking them. Okay, so because the Giants showed some promise and the coaches, right, showed some promise. You're gonna lose a couple of them, and not only that, okay. But obviously we have to replace them. But I mean, not only did we lose a couple, but also between Kafka and Martindale, they got interviews as head coaches as well too. So that just goes to show you, okay. The Giants are certainly heading in the right direction. As I said, now I'm not exactly sure who they're going to wind up getting in to replace Sperano Jr. Okay, but they'll find somebody, right? I mean, there's a ton of guys out there. I'm sure Dable, once again, it was the same thing when they lost the running back coach. I mean, you got to have guys, or if he was thinking maybe possibly might wind up losing a Kafka or Martindale, you got to have a Rolodex full of names, 5 other names or so, like at each guys that you want to call up and talk to, right? So I'm sure he's got people he's willing to talk to. I'm sure obviously hasn't hired anybody yet, but I'm sure if you're a coach in the NFL, this is going to be a yearly kind of thing going on where you're going to lose coaches. You got to have a Rolodex with some names of some people that you want to be talking to. So then it's the combine week, huh? I mean, I'll tell you what, so you got it's like pretty much like every month there's like a little something going on. I mean, obviously you got the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Game. You got the Super Bowl in February. You got the Combine in February. Then you got the the Combine is going to go from February. Well, actually, it started. The guys didn't start doing anything yet. That's not going to be for another couple of days. I got the schedule coming up here, but so you got like late February into March, you got the Combine. Then in March, you're going to have free agency. Then in April, you're going to have the draft, right? So you got all kinds of stuff going on. Every month, they try to have a little something going on, right, in the NFL. So it's not like we have a long period of time where you have like nothing going on. But the cool thing is that, Dable is going to be joining Shane and at the Combine, right? I got this from the New York Post. It says there's no rest for the NFL's newly crowned Coach of the Year. Some of Brian Dable's counterparts around the league did not make the trip for this week's NFL Scouting Combine, but the head coach of the Giants boarded a flight Monday morning, along with his general manager, Joe Schoen, for the purpose of improving the talent level on the team. Schoen will also engage in face-to-face conversations with representation for some of his own players set to become unrestricted free agents. The two most obviously is Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. All right. This week turns into an NFL 3-ring circus of sorts with agents, coaches, and general managers all mingling with plenty of business getting done. Oh, yeah. Plenty of business getting done. The start of the draft, trade talks, contract parameters for impending free agents amid plenty of rumors that tend to swirl this time of year. Oh, yeah. Let's see. And just as what happened, it did several weeks ago for the Senior Bowl Mobile, Alabama, Dable brought his coaching staff to the Combine. Okay. More than 10 teams opted not to do this, leaving their coaches behind, leaving the draft prospect interviews and on-site evaluations to the general manager and members of the front office. The coaches who stayed home can gain access to videos of the interviews, but Dable prefers to be in the room with the players and have his coordinators and assistant coaches also conduct the interviews in person. So I think that's a huge plus. And Shane said, "I'm grateful Dabes loves the process and invests in it," meaning, coming to the Combine, not only that, okay, but, bringing the entire staff and everything there. As I said, I think that's really, really huge, being there face to face with the guys, talking to them, getting to know them and all and everything. I really, really think that this is, that's huge, really, really huge. It was kind of funny, because like last year, Shane just kind of like showed up and was just kind of like, walking around and just, at the he's kind of like just, I think maybe it was like a week or so before the combine last year. He just met his scouting department. Oh, yeah, you work for me? Yeah. Oh, you work for the Giants? Yeah. Oh, how you doing? All right, good. What's your name? Oh, good. I'm just Shane. How you doing? Yeah, you're Giants too? Yeah. Oh, cool. Hey, how you doing? What do you do? Walking around just meeting these guys, shaking their hands, right? Now he's got a year under his belt. Things are a lot more organized this year. Not that he had a horrible draft last year. I think a lot of the draft got a little bit, I don't know, watered down. Not watered down, but some of the grades or whatever got hurt a little bit because some of the guys got injured. Didn't have a lot of guys, a lot of guys lost some time because of injuries. But I think with a year under his belt, okay, a little more organization and all, I think this could really work out pretty well. Plus, I think it certainly works out for the best that all the coaches are there. I think that's huge. Now, Thursday in the afternoon from 3 to 8:30, you got the linebackers and the defensive linemen do their workouts and drills. Okay, then Friday, the defensive backs and special teams workouts and drills. Okay. Saturday, that's when we have the offense starts rolling around. Saturday, got the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and tight ends workout and drills. And then Sunday, from 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock, okay, the running backs and offensive linemen do their workout and drills. And it's live TV. There's live TV every day on the NFL Network and NFL Plus. So, if you got the NFL Network, there's a live TV. I don't know if it's the whole time. Because let's see, Thursday it's 3 to 8:30. They're working out. Friday it's 3 to 8:30. Saturday it's 1 to 8. Sunday it's 1 to 8. So I'm not exactly sure if if it's going to be live the whole time or exactly what, but should be interesting. It's always one of those things. Is the way it winds up working out is a lot of times, some guys go. I mean, they don't, especially the quarterbacks, they might, I don't know, go there for their measurements, maybe do some interviews or whatever, but not everybody does everything. Some of the guys like who might be drafted in the third or fourth round or whatever they brought there. They're there to maybe see what they can do, show off what they can do, but not everybody runs. Because some guys, it's like, hey, this guy runs in the 4.3s. We're looking at a first round pick for this guy, So for some reason, the times are always fast at their own pro days than they are at the combine. So some guys don't run at the combine, right? Some guys aren't going to throw at the combine. Because it's, a lot of it's like, if they're going to be a first round or a second round, or if they might be the first quarterback taken or whatever. You go into the combine and you're throwing a lot of these guys have never been in that stadium before. Okay. They're throwing to guys that they've never thrown the ball to before. Right. So you don't know. I said, when you're at your pro day, you got Johnny over here. Johnny runs some good freaking routes. Let me tell you what, if we're doing a 10 and out, it's 10, boom, and out. I know exactly where I got to throw the ball out. I got Petey over here, or Sammy over here. Sammy, he's a little tight. I love the way these guys talk. He's a little tight in the hips, and but he doesn't run the best routes in this, and he kind of curves it off. He's not crisp and all that, but I know that's what he does. So I know how I got to throw the ball to him. So I know he's going to post pattern, but it's not going to be. He's going to kind of round it off, and And so and he's not the fastest. I know he's slow at the start, but he starts gaining up speed. So I know how I can hit him. I'll hit him in stride, and it's going to look good, and it's going to make me look good. They're going to throw in, the balls, I guess, will be, inflated or whatever, however they like it. He's throwing it in the stadium. He's comfortable with everything's comfort. Makes him look good, right? The guys that go there, right, that aren't afraid of any of that stuff and knock it out of the park. Those are the guys you give a lot of, got to give a lot of credit to. But so some of these guys don't run. Some of these guys don't do different things there. A lot of guys have their own pro days and all and everything. That's just the way it is. But it's always interesting. always really, really interesting. Always a good time. But it's nice to see, I said, with Shane and Dable and all the coaches being there, I think it's really, really huge for the Giants. So I'm looking for another good draft for the Giants this year. Hopefully whoever they want to draft and can actually stay healthy this year. Because I said, like last year, almost half of the draft class wound up on season-ending IR. All right, so hopefully that doesn't happen this year. But you also look at it kind of on the good side, right, too, is that they're going to have, between McKeithen, Zudu, Davidson, Beavers, and Wandale Robinson, those 5 guys, I mean, hopefully they'll be ready, hopefully, for training camp, right? And hopefully they can make it without getting injured, right? And, so we'll have those 5 guys, being added to the roster this year. Because, I mean, Beavers never made it out of spring training. I freaking got baseball in my mouth. At a training camp. And McKeithen, same thing. He got injured. He was the first one injured, right? So, I mean, it'd be nice to see those guys if they can make it through training camp. I mean, Beavers, I'm kind of anxious to see what he can do as a linebacker because that was one of the weakest positions the Giants, maybe the weakest positions the Giants had last year. I mean, it was that run defense, man. Whew. But that's also another one of the things, too, is because it's going to show you kind of how Shane kind of values certain positions and all that, right? Now, the one thing is that because now we got Wink coming back, right? So, are we valuing inside linebackers at number 1? Say there's, pick 25 comes around and we're there ready to take and is a good inside linebacker there, right? Or say a good tight end, right? Going to show you what Shane kind of values because, I mean, if we want to run 11 personnel, we got Bellinger. We may not want to take another tight end. If there's a good tight end there for us to take at 25, may not take him. I mean, because if you're not going to use them that much, it's the same thing like with an inside linebacker. I mean, if we take an inside linebacker, but with Wink's defense, we only going to have him on the field for 30% of the snaps. So why do we want to take an inside linebacker, our first round overall pick, if he's only going to be on the field 30% of the snaps? It's like, that doesn't make much sense. You're not getting a lot of use of that. You want to go draft a cornerback. The freaking cornerback's on the field all the time. Dude ain't coming off the field. The wide receiver, right? Take a wide receiver. He's going to be on the field almost all the time. We got on offensive snaps. If you're going to take an offensive lineman, boom, they're on the field all the time. As I said, I mean, with Martindale's defense, a lot of times we got 2 edge rushers. We got maybe Leonard Williams and Sexy Dexy out there. And between cornerbacks and safeties, we could have 7 guys out there, 4 cornerbacks and 3 safeties. If we're not going to have an inside linebacker on there, why are we going to take one in the first round? Right. So I said the same thing with the tight end, right? If we got Bellinger there, right, we're going to run 11 personnel. Where we draft in the first round, I mean, unless he's going to be a lot better than Bellinger, if he's not going to be on the field that much, if he's only going to be on the field 30% of the snaps, why are we going to take him in the first round? Right? It just doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, expect maybe, Shane, to start maybe first round. There's got some cornerbacks there. Definitely got some cornerbacks. First round also look to see what wide receivers fall to the Giants, right? There's no, phenomenal, wide receivers coming out of the draft, right? There's some very good ones, okay, but there's no, obviously, top 5 picks or nothing like that. So we're not even sure who's going to be the first one off the board. How many are going to go in the first round? There's certainly going to be some going in the first round. Who will be there for the Giants? So it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be a really fascinating draft also because it's the first time, obviously, in a while that we're picking in the 20s. Usually we're picking in the top 10, right? I mean, we picked, what was it? The last time we picked in the 20s was after we went to the playoffs, right? Got smoked by the Packers, and we took Evan Ingram. We were picking in the 20s. We took Evan Ingram. Okay. But I mean, basically ever since then, we've been almost picking in the top 10, right? Ever since then. So it's going to be fascinating, really, really fascinating because you can't say the way it's been in the past. It's like, okay, well, all right, let's see here. We're picking 8. Okay. So let's see. They take Stroud's going to go. Levis will go. Young will go. So that's three. The two defensive players, those two guys, they're gone. So that's five. So there's two other guys that are going to go before us, and then we got the rest of the pick. We kind of maybe knock a bunch of guys off. Okay, well, we should have this guy, and this guy should be there at number 8. Well, we're picking number 5 like we were last year. Okay, well, these 3 quarterbacks are going to go, and this one defensive lineman's going to go. So we should have a pick of anybody. You don't know who's going to be there at 25. You don't know what cornerbacks are going to be there. You don't know what wide receivers are going to be there. You just don't know. So, it's going to be one of those things, sitting and waiting, unless Shane, which I don't really see happening because we got so many holes. There's no phenomenal, there's not a lot of blue chippers. I'm just hearing and listening to guys talking. There's so many guys out there that they spend their whole day watching film of all of these guys and everything. I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. Right? That's just not me. These guys know so much. I value their what they got to say. Okay. And they know so much more than me. But a lot of what they say is there's maybe 15, maybe 20 guys who actually have first round grades this year. Right. So, you get a lot of guys like late in the second, the last 10 picks, maybe in the first round. A lot of those guys are going to, with some of these guys who grade these guys, the guys that get drafted, from picks like 20 to 32 or whatever, are going to have second round grades on a lot of them. So there's not a lot of real phenomenal, awesome talent coming out. There's a lot of good quality throughout the draft, but there's not a boatload. Because what I was hearing also is a lot of guys that are going back, they're going back there for a 5th year or so. So some guys could be coming out, but they chose not to. They chose to go back to school, and also that's kind of like where why we're a little that next year the talent level might be up. But you're going to get a lot of good quality, like in the second round and the third round, right? But not so much. If you're in the top 10 or so, you get a pick. You get picks of some good guys. But once you get into the 20s and all, there's a lot of nothing super spectacular. So I don't see Shane. Unless he has some grand visions of trading up leaps and bounds to get a quarterback, I don't see that happening because we're more worried about Daniel Jones and all. But I don't see him trading up to get anybody, big time. So who falls to the Giants at 25? We're going to have to wait and see at the end of April. And then finally, I saw this thing from Julian Love. He has 5 best defensive players of all time. Now, it's kind of really hard to argue with this. He didn't really go back really deep in the Giants history here. He got his 5 best Giants defensive players of all time. Of course, Lawrence Taylor's number 1. You got Michael Strahan, can't argue with that. And you got Harry Carson's, right? Harry Carson's from 76 to 88. Then you got Carl Banks from 84 to 92. And then you got Jesse Armstead, 90. Well, see, you got 93 was a phenomenal. I believe it was Michael Strahan and Jesse Armstead we got in 93. We got a couple good ones there. Jesse Armstead, I think, was 93 to 2001. I believe he was a Giant. But those are his 5 guys. It's really hard to argue with that. They're really some phenomenal picks. There's some other guys in there, obviously. George Martin, Harry Carson's a Hall of Famer. George Martin came out in 75. We drafted him in 75. He retired in 88 with Harry Carson. George Martin played a long time, obviously, with the Giants. He was just shy of 100 sacks, I believe. But he was Mr. Reliable. He was always there on end. I said Harry Carson was there. Carl Banks was a phenomenal at setting the edge. But the one guy he replaced was Brad Van Pelt. Brad Van Pelt was with the Giants, I think, from 74 to 83. They let him go after 83, and Lawrence Taylor was rather pissed off about that because it was Lawrence on one side, Brad Van Pelt on the other, right? Lawrence and Brad Van Pelt played from 81 to 83 together. Lawrence loved Brad Van Pelt was a phenomenal athlete at Michigan State. I don't know, he played 3 sports or whatever. He was like 6'4", 6'5", tall, but very, very good athlete. He was very good at setting the edge. He was a really, really good outside linebacker for the New York Giants. Sadly, he passed away. But Lawrence Taylor was pissed off when I don't remember if they just didn't re-sign him. They cut him. They let him go. Whatever it was, I'm not exactly sure. But in '84, that's the last time the Giants brought in drafted a linebacker. Okay, in the first round. We got to go back almost freaking 40 years before the Giants drafted a linebacker in the first round. So they got Carl Banks. You know what I mean? So you had Lawrence on one side, Carl on the other, and Harry in the middle. And then we had a 3-4 defense. So yeah, I mean, maybe you had Pepper Johnson, right? You had Gary Reasons, Harry Carson. You know, I mean, so you had 2 other linebackers in the middle. So I mean, we had some good linebackers back then. Really, really good linebackers. And I said, and Jesse Armstead, he was a phenomenal linebacker. We got him in the 8th round from the U. What a steal he was. Absolutely phenomenal. But I mean, there's other guys that he kind of missed. I mean, I don't know if he wasn't going, I mean, his history on the Giants defense may not be that obviously that great. I mean, going back in time, I'm sure, I mean, there's other guys that like Spider Lockhart. I mean, had a nice career with the Giants. He was nothing super phenomenal, but he was good. I think it was 65 to 75. He was with the Giants. He had over 40 interceptions. He got burnt. He got toasted sometimes. I mean, I remember Bob Hayes used to burn him like toast many a times. Bob Hayes from the Cowboys, Spider Lockhart, Andy Robustelli. We got him. We traded for him from the Rams. We got him in 56. He played from 56 to 64 with the Giants, I believe it was. He had a phenomenal career, Hall of Famer. He was actually our first GM, right, for the Giants. He had a phenomenal career with the Giants. He was the defensive end. Antonio Pierce, let's not forget about him. He was huge in helping us with the defense and all the defense we had in 2007 and 2008. We had a phenomenal defense. But Antonio Pierce, Pierce was here from 2005, I believe it was, to 2009. So he was here for like 5 years. But his impact was hard to measure what Antonio Pierce did. There was other guys. Erich Barnes, we got him from the Chicago. We traded him for the Chicago Bears. Had him from 61 to 64, but he was only here for 4 years. He was very good for the Giants in the defensive backfield. I think he still holds the Giants record of all time 102-yard interception return against the Cowboys in 1961, I believe it was. He was very, very good. Then we traded him to the Browns. We had other guys like Dick Modzelewski. There's a lot of guys, but the one guy that he forgot, okay, that, to me is the number 2 of all time, okay, defensive player. Well, damn, I guess you have to say 3. I guess you got to give Michael number 2. You have to give Michael number 2 with his sacks and where he could set the edge, stop the run. You got to give Michael number 2. All right, so Lawrence is number 1, Michael's number 2, but Emlen Tunnell, okay, Giants drafted, he wasn't drafted, for 1948. He played from 1948 to 1958 with the Giants. His last game with the Giants was the 1958 championship game. Then he left the Giants and he played 3 more seasons with the Packers. His last game in the NFL was a 1961 championship game. We played for the Packers, and they happened to play the New York Giants in the championship game, and the Packers beat the Giants 37-0. Oh my God. Anyway, but Emlen Tunnell, okay, to me, okay, all due respect to Harry Carson and Jesse Armstead and Carl Banks, Emlen Tunnell is the 3rd best Giants defensive player of all time. I said he played for the Giants for 11 seasons, 48 to 58. He had in his career, he had 79 interceptions in his career. He had 74 interceptions for the New York Giants. 74. Okay. Now this is back in the day when they only played 12 games in a season. Okay. 12 games. His last season he played in 1961 was the first season they started playing 14 games. 1960, they played 12 games. 61, they went up to 14 games. So in 1961, he played in 13 games. From 1960 to 1948, he played in 12 games. He played 12 games every year. His first year, 1948, he played in 10 games. From 1949 to 1960, every year he played in 12 games. 12 games every year. Now we're playing 17. All right, obviously, and we've been since 1978, right? Since the last 2 years. So from 78 to 2020, okay, we were playing in 16 games. All right. So you figure he has 79 interceptions, and he did that in a 12-game schedule. If he was playing in a 16-game schedule, like they do recently, or a 17-game schedule, or even a 14-game schedule, he'd probably have, in the amount of years he played, he probably would have close to 100 interceptions. He's only a couple shy of the all-time mark. Okay. He was very good at returning punts. As I said, but especially was in the being a safety. Okay. He was very good, obviously very, very good at picking off passes. 1949, he had 10 interceptions. At 51, he had 9. 1954, he had 8. Just very consistent. Very, 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 very consistent. He had 7 interceptions, then he had 10, then he had 7, then he had 9, then he had 7, then he had 6, then he had 8, then he had 7, then he had 6, and he had 6. And very, 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 very consistent. He took 4 of them back for touchdowns. He recovered 16 fumbles in his career. So very, very good. But now, obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame, right? Deservedly so. He a guy in a banana truck picked him up and drove him to New York City so he can meet Mr. Mara and talk to him, and he just wanted to try out. Mr. Mara said, yeah, and basically the rest is pretty much history. But it was a guy in a banana truck. I guess he was hitchhiking his way here. And in his Hall of Fame speech, Emlyn Tunnell, I said, I want to thank the guy in the banana truck for picking me up on my way to New York City. I don't know where he got picked him up. I don't know if he was in New Jersey or Ohio or what. I have no idea. But some guy in a banana truck picked him up and drove him to New York City so he can drop off, so he can talk to Mr. Mara to get an interview, to get a tryout. And as I said, the rest is history. But other than that, I mean, I can't complain. With Julian Love. I mean, going back in time, he's got Lawrence Taylor, number 1, Michael Strahan, number 2, Harry Carson, number 3, Carl Banks, number 4, and Jesse Armstead, number 5. And I said, so, I mean, you can't, I can't really argue with that, but he didn't seem to go back really, really far in the history of the New York Giants with their defense. And said, there was a lot of guys, they had in the 50s and the 60s and even in the 70s. I mean, in the 70s, there was Jack Gregory, one of our defensive ends, John Mendenhall, Brad Van Pelt, an outside linebacker. We had some, as I said, George Martin. We had some good guys, other good guys in the 60s and the 70s. Even some other guys in the 80s and all and everything. But the guys he's got there, the top 5 he's got there, it's hard to argue. But I would have to, if I was going to change it up, my number 3, you got to give Michael number 2. And Lawrence is number 1. Lawrence is the GOAT. Michael will be number 2. But Emlyn Tunnell, who was a safety for the Giants from 1948 to 1958, okay, and is also in the Hall of Fame, okay, he would be my number 3 defensive player for the Giants of all time. Well, guys, it's been how long? Been 38, almost 39 minutes. Anybody spent any time at all watching this, listening to me? Thank you, thank you, thank you. It really means the world to me. It really does. I really, really appreciate it, guys. If anybody spends any time at all watching the replay of this, once again, thank you, thank you, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.